It's surprising that the president said that U.S. intelligence missed this one, because it seems that U.S. intelligence was the only group that missed this one. Everyone knew that Islamic extremists were on the rise in Syria and in Iraq. It was well documented. The extremists were publicizing their activities online. They were bragging about it. They were coming through Turkey. Journalists, including us, were interviewing foreign fighters as they were going in and out of Syria. This was no state secret.
All right, when NBC News says that the president's in trouble, joining us now is Josh Kraushaar, the political editor and Against the Grain columnist for the National Journal. Josh, I welcome you, and you know, your great piece at nationaljournal.com, Obama's Pass-the-Buck Presidency. I got to tell you, Clapper fought back with a statement, a memo, after the president threw him under the bus on 60 Minutes. This president is, we used to say, always detached. He's dangerously detached, and the arrogance of blaming others it just seems that he knows no bounds with it.
Well, and the overarching theme is also the fact that this president has been very political when it comes to all these controversies. The first thing the administration worries about is how is it going to play in the polls? How is it going to play in the short-term impact in the president's approval ratings? And there's been a lot of criticism on both the right and some newfound Democratic critics. I quoted Joe Sestak, former Democratic congressman who's a high-ranking military officer, as being just dumbfounded about how they've been playing politics, how they've been trying to not be fully truthful when they talk about some of the national security threats. And this thing on 60 Minutes, when he basically said he did not know anything about the intelligence suggesting the rise of ISIS. It's not just James Clapper who was sort of raising some skepticism about the president's comments, but it's a whole host of people. And just today, Leon Panetta, his former Secretary of Defense, said that that he actually was warning the president, before the rise of ISIS. He was adamant that they would be filling in the vacuum, and he was adamant in criticizing the president and in these internal debates within the administration that they needed to keep some kind of residual force in Iraq so this violence would not happen. So the president, the notion that he was out of the loop, that he had no idea that this could happen, is just totally contradicted by real life, intel
right.
and quotes. So it's clearly caught up to him, but as I wrote in the column, there's a pattern with this president that when it comes with his foreign policy, domestic policy, the president's strategy is to deny, blame, and then hope that the scandal dies down.
Well, now we have something that is directly life-threatening. And we have a president who basically hasn't said boo about it, other than a week ago saying it's highly unlikely that a case of Ebola would wind up in this country. Well, we've seen how long that lasted. We have a CDC who is supposedly now in charge, and they got a game plan. And the woman who's having a relationship with the man who has the Ebola is telling CNN she doesn't know what to do. She's in that apartment. They're stuck in there now. They're quarantined, her and a bunch of her kids, and nobody from the CDC is there. She still has the sheets that the guy slept in on the bed. She doesn't know what to do with them to get rid of them. That must be Obama's game plan. Who's he going to blame for this when, God forbid, this spreads into a horrendous epidemic?
Well, the point of credibility, mattering. I mean, we learned from the Bush administration, for example, that once Katrina happened, he couldn't do anything to push back on the perception that he didn't have his finger on a lot of the big agencies of government. And Obama is having that problem. And when you're talking about Ebola and the Secret Service scandal, and to be honest, I really don't think I think this is. I mean, they may be able to do a better job communicating to the public, but this isn't something you can pin on the White House. But
we could shut down all entry into the country from the infected countries in Africa.
Yeah, I mean, that's not what there's a healthy debate to be had, but there's no. You would at least. It doesn't seem like there's any political impetus so far in how the administration has handled this, but. The problem is, for this White House, whenever you have a country that's extremely skeptical about the administration's credibility, and you're seeing this pass-the-buck tendency, there's not a whole lot of confidence. And when you're, what you're saying, and if anything happens, the president is going to take the brunt of the political blame, whether he deserves it or not. And the Secret Service thing, I mean, you think that he would want to be protected.
Right.
He would be very angry about these breaches that have been so stunning. But, you know, in the end, it actually sort of does go back to the view of government. And when people don't have a positive view of government and its competence, it usually blows back against the Democrats and by extension, this president.
Yeah. All right, folks, read more at nationaljournal.com, the Against the Grain column. And Josh Kraushaar, great to talk to you, Josh. Take care.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, folks. It's very interesting. And I'm not saying it's Democrat or Republican thing when it comes to Obama and his handling of this. But this is our life and death directly, immediately. Not we might get bombed, but I mean, this is the most serious thing he's had to deal with. And he's just not doing anything. He's doing nothing, in my opinion. All right, we're coming back. Abe Foxman of the ADL. Don't go away.